Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, November 20th. Our dry and chilly weather pattern here in the Mid-Atlantic region will continue for another few days. It looks pretty nice for Thanksgiving Day, but then an Arctic cold front comes sweeping through the Mid-Atlantic region Friday night. That paves the way for a much colder weekend. Saturday temperatures will be much colder than Friday, with some strong winds included and possibility of an isolated shower or two south and east of the mountains on Saturday, but there could be some snow flurries and even snow squalls up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, for example, from central Pennsylvania up to western Pennsylvania and northeast into the Poconos during the afternoon on Saturday. Let's take a look at the latest surface map. We still have that Atlantic low sitting right off the southeast coast, but it's gradually pulling out to the north and east out into the open Atlantic. They've been kind of dogged with some rain and wind right here along the eastern Carolinas. That should improve dramatically over the next couple of days as this Atlantic low continues to move to the east and northeast. A weak front out here in the middle part of the country, really inconsequential in terms of precipitation, very little associated with it. The real weather story over the last couple of days has been right here across the Pacific Northwest, from Northern California right through the Pacific Northwest, where there's been tremendous amounts of rainfall and even wind gusts along the Oregon coast of over 100 miles per hour. Heavy snows inland. Looks like that parade of storms will continue for another couple of days, with very heavy rainfall amounts along the coast and some heavy snowfall amounts inland all the way into the western part of Montana, where some higher elevation locations could very well receive more than a foot of snow over the next 24 hours. Here's the latest infrared satellite loop from the SSEC Wisconsin website. A few broken clouds here in the Mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley associated with that weak frontal system. Basically partly sunny skies today. That low over the Atlantic continues to move slowly to the north and east. Conditions will improve along the coastal Carolinas over the next 12 to 24 hours. Meanwhile, lots of clouds out here in the Pacific Northwest, and yet another storm getting ready to roll on in, as they will continue to be inundated with rainfall along the coast over the next 24 hours. And again, in the colder, higher elevations inland, there will be heavy snows over the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the weather is quite nice across the middle part of the country, with very nice conditions, for example, in Denver, where they've been very dry for the last several days, and it looks like precipitation free for the rest of the week, with temperatures in the very mild 60s for this time of the year. Well, let's follow the progression of this next Arctic frontal system that'll move to the east coast by Friday night or early Saturday. This is from last night's 0Z GFS model run. This happens to be the forecast map for Thursday night, Thanksgiving evening, and here's the high pressure continuing to dominate the weather scene here in the eastern third of the country, with the Atlantic low continuing to slowly spin its way off the east coast out into the open Atlantic. And here's that Arctic front. Right now, as of Thursday evening, we'll be sliding into the Midwest with an area of precipitation associated with it, and it's backed up by cold, strong Canadian high pressure with screaming north winds here in the northern plains by Thursday night. And here's the forecast map for Friday evening. The main front right here with some shower activity out in at least the western part of the Mid-Atlantic region Friday evening. Kind of a secondary push with a secondary cold front maybe back here over the Great Lakes. And again, just a long fetch of northerly wind here from the central part of Canada all the way into the Midwest come Friday evening. Let's now jump ahead to Saturday evening. And here's the forecast map for Saturday evening. By this time, the front is off the coast, just very strong northwest winds here in the Mid-Atlantic region all the way up through New England. And again, there can be some precipitation in the form of snow flurries, snow showers in the mountainous regions of western and central Pennsylvania, maybe up to the Poconos, maybe even a sprinkle of rainfall, a shower or two south and east of the mountains along the I-95 corridor during the day on Saturday. But basically cold and windy, much colder than Friday, which will be a day ahead of the frontal system, and temperatures could actually climb to about 60 degrees on Friday ahead of the front, but much colder on Saturday. And that chilly air will continue through the day on Sunday and only moderate slightly early part of next week. By the middle part of next week, it looks like there will be another cold air outbreak headed to the east, and it could be accompanied by a coastal storm. In fact, let's jump way ahead now to the middle part of next week. This is actually last night's Zero-Z GFS model run, a forecast map for next Tuesday night, and this is the next frontal system we'll have to deal with after the weekend front. And it's kind of an interesting setup here, because by this time, again, the cold air is still rather entrenched here in the eastern states, and the GFS and the European model are both indicating possibility of a coastal storm kind of accompanying this next cold air outbreak that'll drop south and east by the middle part of next week, after a couple of days of some moderation on Monday and Tuesday in temperatures after that cold weekend that we'll experience on Saturday and Sunday. So a lot going on here in the weather world. Follow it all on the SIweather.com over the next few days. That's it for now. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.